Hello and welcome to InteSoul Leadership. This is another episode. I'm your host, Yvette Owens, and today we're going to talk about empowering leadership, nurturing excellence. You know, leadership is more than just delegating tasks, just barking tasks. It really is about inspiring and guiding people to their best selves, to their highest potential. And in doing so, we actually take ourselves to our higher place of leading because we are able to meet every person on our team where they are and help them to elevate where they're going. Because everyone that you've invited along with you on your vision and your journey, this assignment that you're completing, whether it's in sales, whether it's producing products or leading projects, every person comes with a unique set of skills and a unique set of experiences that you deemed important enough to join your organization and to join your team. So the task that we have ahead of us, or the challenge, is how do we keep those people engaged from the most authentic self, their best selves, and so that they, one, continue to feel a belonging and also valued. And that's what we're going to talk about. When in each person, starting with the leader, because some leaders also feel like they just are so self-sacrificing that nobody cares about them. And when you feel that way, then it starts to reflect on how you actually serve those who you're leading. So we want you to be at your best as well. So everything that I'm sharing is not just about your team, but it's also about how do you stay refreshed, ready to lead into a dynamic team, into higher performing. And as you do that, trust me, you will also become higher performing. So we talk about Agile Change Leadership. It's really how well can we flex? How well do we transparent? How well do we balance and keep harmony within our organization and the things that we already have in place while making the shift or the transition to a new place that we need to go, or a different direction or an additional direction, right? So we need to understand how to set and apply those key leadership skills. And when we talk about nurturing excellence, again, it's really identifying and embracing the fact that every person comes with a unique set of skills, unique set of values, because they do have their own personal values. I know we have organizational values, but they have their personal values too. And the best scenario is that their personal values align with the organization's values and your team values. Have you set values along with your team, come together and say, here's the values, here's are the things that we value the most. These are our working agreements. This is how we agree to interact with each other. That is so empowering. It's so engaging for your team. It gives your team the ability to know that, one, I contribute to setting the culture in which I'm working, and now we can hold each other accountable for staying aligned with that so that we all benefit. So as you identify those unique skills that each person has, you invite them to the table and you invite them to bring those perspectives, because every perspective is important, especially in the midst of a shift. We don't know it all as a leader, and we can set the vision, we can set the high road, that here's the roadmap, here's where we would like to go. I like to say leaders set the what, but they invite other people to the table to talk about the how. And that's important because the people around you that are in the day-to-day, that are closest to the environment or the people or the products that you're about to make some type of transition in, they bring a wealth of knowledge that we as leaders don't have because we're one step removed. And we should be. I know that some have advocated that, hey, leaders should know everything. No, if leaders should be in everything and be aware of everything, you should have some semblance of what's going on, and you should be in touch with your team on a regular basis, that you have understanding of where their needs are, how the production or they're producing and serving your clients. But the micro stuff, if you're micromanaging to the point that you know everything that your team knows, then you're probably not in a space where you are most valued, and you bring value add. And that's probably in the strategic space. And as you're working with the strategic space and then inviting the members of your team to collaborate with you, now you can make this change more meaningful because you and your leaders or your teams of peer leaders have decided that, hey, we need to now go in this direction. You still have all this work. You still have all these projects underway. So how do we blend that? Or where do we need to stop? Because if we move in this direction, we no longer need that. Or how do we integrate? So we may need some of what we're already doing, but when we now go into this new direction, we won't need it all. So we need everybody's minds to come together. And when you recognize that each individual in their role brings a different voice to the effort, and you allow that voice to be heard, you actually set an expectation that if we don't hear your voice, if we don't get your perspective, if we don't get to understand what you know about the potential impact of what we're about to do, then we could be missing a big gap and setting ourselves up for failure. Did you understand and know that 70% of change does not happen, and it doesn't happen well because we don't apply a proper change leadership and change management to the process? And one of the things is what we're talking about today is nurturing that spirit of excellence, nurturing the excellence in each other, allowing the excellence to grow in every one of us, the leader as well as the team members. And when I say team members, I mean every team member. And there could be auxiliary, ancillary teams that support your team that you may also need to get their input on as well and get their insight, because they also can impact this shift that you're about to make. And that's where we get excellence. That's how you nurture excellence. So first, you start with the people on your team, every individual, whatever their skill set is, whatever their role is, recognize it, celebrate it, and also let them know that it's important. And sometimes, I know we do this, we take every person in their respective role and place for granted. And I don't mean that you're intentionally being malicious, but hey, they're there. And I know they're going to be there because you have a very dependable team. They're going to be there for you. They're in their place. They're making the changes. They're taking ownership for what they're doing, and you can count on them. But do you know that sometimes we're doing what we do and we forget how important it is to somebody else? And as a leader, when we want to inspire and guide people to be their highest potential selves, all it takes sometimes is to recognize out loud and publicly and privately both how valuable they are to you and the organization and the team's efforts. People need to be reminded that they are good. No, they are great. And you would not experience the success that you're experiencing if they weren't there. We need to remind people. And that's an easy way where we can pause, take a deep breath, look around us, and recognize out loud, publicly and privately, how well someone is doing and how important it is for them to be in their place, and sharing what the work we're doing from their perspective. Here's what I mean. If you have a team and part of your team are sales, part of your team is marketing, part of your team is actually creating the product, so it's development, part of your team is research, part of your team is team building and the administrative piece, it's important to hear from every one of those groups, every person in those groups, to hear the impact of the work that you're doing on their day-to-day. And when you hear that, and when you open up space and create an environment and a culture where everyone knows, one, they see me. I mentioned that in my book, No Bosses Allowed, Lead to Serve and Transform. There's one section and chapter in there that talks about, we see you. We see you. Because people need to know that they're being seen. They need to know that that's how I know that I'm valued, that you see me. that you see me. There's some work environments, and I know it's not yours, but there's some work environments where people are never addressed by their leaders. They're never approached. They're never given a warm hello or anything, or, hey, how's it going? Or acknowledgement by their leaders, or even their other team members. They're simply ignored. And the thought process is that, hey, we hired you for this position. We hired you for this job. You come in and do it, and that's all we owe you. No, there's an individual that sits behind that desk, that is in front of your clients, that is in front of your peers, or that is representing you in other business segments of the organization. And they need to know that you have their back, and that they need to know that you appreciate them. And they need to know that what they do is valuable. That's how we can change more meaningfully and make it stick. You can reinforce the change that you want to happen when people buy into it before, during the implementation, and after, because they've been involved all along. And you've asked them and talked about the importance of why we need to make this transition, and you've allowed them to share what it means to the work already underway. What behaviors do we need to change or adapt now, because we're making this shift? That all nurtures excellence in your organization. Yeah, if you're changing and shifting from doing this to doing that, or introducing a new component to what you're doing, sometimes, many times, it will require behavior changes. Behavior changes just don't happen. It has to be reinforced. It has to be acknowledged. It has to be nurtured. It has to be accepted by the people who has to change their behavior. And all of that is a part of your implementation and installation, all of it. And so as we continue to work on really nurturing excellence in our organizations, especially during change, it's important to really acknowledge the fact that every unique person has a unique perspective that we need to hear as leaders to be successful. And don't be afraid to lean into the resistance. Somebody's perspective may be, from my perspective, this is not going to work because. And that's not to back up and say, oh, they're just a naysayer, or they just don't get it, they don't understand, and taking the approach, well, we're doing it anyway. But no, be willing to explore, why are you feeling that way? Why do you say that? What's underneath that? And work through it. And ask the very important question, from your unique perspective, what will make this work? What do we have to do to put in place to shift, whether it's our marketing messaging, whether it's our change in process and workflow? What would we have to do from your perspective to change your decision, to change your vote from a no to a yes? Now, you talk about you want to nurture belonging and excellence. That is an awesome way, because now I know you're listening to me, I know you're hearing me, and I know you care about what I'm presenting to you as a member of this team. So this is what I wanted to impart to you today on InteSoul Leadership. I know you have awesome leadership stories and ways and experiences where you've been able to nurture excellence in and empower your team. We want to hear from you about those. So do me a favor and go to www.destinyspeak.com. That's our website, and share your story. And we may just share your story as an exclusive content so that others can learn from what you are doing and what each of us are doing. We can all elevate our performance. Leadership is something that you continue to nurture as we go, because every leadership experience and every leadership position brings different challenges, because it involves human beings. And how do we start to engage to bring every team to a higher performing position, or even to become higher performers, is by inviting people to release their voice and acknowledging and affirming, you are really good at this, what you do, or your role is so important. And I'm saying that because sometimes What if they're not really that good in what they're doing, but they're in the role? So even if you express how important that role is and that you are trusting that they're going to invest the time, and you as a leader are going to invest time and finances to help them get even better in that role, you have now won and brought in loyalty to your team because they know you care, not just about the outcome of the assignment, but the success is not success unless we all come out as winners, the organization and every individual. No one wants to fail. I've never met anybody who just sets out to fail. So it's us as leaders who are charged with nurturing that excellence in every individual, regardless of where they're starting from. So again, share your stories, share your challenges. We'd be happy to highlight them and talk through how we can help you and help others. We would not obviously disclose who you are or your organization, but we can talk to the scenario and help you and others learn how and understand how and get a different perspective on how to overcome those situations. We want to hear about your challenges and we want to hear about your successes so we can share them and really learn ourselves. So I wanted to share that with you, as well as there is a InteSoul Leadership community, membership community that I have that I invite you to. It is a paid membership. And if you respond because of this, you seeing this podcast, there's a special discount that we will give you off of the monthly fee. We will give you $25 off of the monthly investment of joining the InteSoul Leadership community. It's a Facebook community of leaders, emerging leaders, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, all who are working and nurturing the excellence within them as leaders so that we create globally a better momentum, higher performing momentum in leadership, more sensitive. I'm always of the school that we have the ability to bring the heart back into leadership. And I'd love for you to be a part of that momentum, that movement, where we're going to make sure leadership looks, sounds, and leaves people feeling very different and better than what we have in the past as leaders. We should always be evolving. Let's evolve together. So again, jump over to our DestinySpeak.com website and share your success stories, and also inquire about joining the InteSoul Leadership community. You get also discounts on any projects that we have as a member of that community, and you get one-on-one conversations with me when we release that and you have something that you want to share. That's available from time to time. But most importantly, you're joining a community of leaders who really care about leading not only the organization, but the people. Until next time, continue to lead with passion, continue to lead with purpose, and continue to aspire to inspire so that you empower the people around you. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you on the next episode of InteSoul Leadership. Bye-bye.